The Adventures of Sunshine Grandma in Melbourne, Australia. Once upon a time, Sunshine Grandma went to visit Melbourne. In fact, Grandma comes to Melbourne lots of times, visits the cafes and enjoys the Australian city, which reminds her most of Europe. What do you think was the first thing that Grandma does when Grandma comes to visit Melbourne? Grandma puts on her hat and says, "G'day," which means hello in Australia. What was the next thing that Grandma does? Grandma puts on her jumper because it's usually a bit colder or a lot colder in Melbourne than in sunny Queensland. What was the next thing that Grandma does? The next thing Grandma does is have a coffee and an almond croissant at a cafe. Then Grandma goes to find a bus to take her to the burbs, which is what Grandma calls the Melbourne suburbs. What's the next thing that Grandma does? Hop on the bus to go and find her bed. Why did Grandma want to go and find her bed? So that Grandma could have a rest. Grandma loves Melbourne because there are lots and lots and lots of cafes in Melbourne and lots of fun things to do. Sunshine Grandma says when she looks for your bed when she arrives, she has a rest, but on the way to her bed, Grandma looked at something very special in Melbourne. Do you know what it was? The Melbourne trams. Melbourne has lots of trams taking everyone to everywhere, especially in the city. Grandma says, "Oh my goodness, oh my soul, it's so much fun riding in a tram." One time, Grandma visited Melbourne and rode on a horse and cart in the city. Sunshine Grandma goes and visits the city and the shop windows and sees all the lovely Christmas displays. And then, as you can imagine, Grandma takes lots of photos of the pretty displays. Sunshine Grandma laughs and has so much fun in Melbourne, especially when she's visiting some of the beautiful parks. There's so many interesting things to do in Melbourne, including going to art galleries and performances. Sunshine Grandma loves me very much. Grandma doesn't care if I have messy hair, and I know that Grandma loves me very much because she's always telling me. Maybe she thinks I'll forget. Grandma says that grandparents love their children and their grandchildren more than their next breath. And Grandma says all children are gifted and talented, especially grandchildren, and that we are very, very precious.